Stuff is happening, and I am just wholly not prepared. What is up, BookTube? It is Monty, and today I am here to start a vlog that I was not expecting to start today, which is why we kind of have this weird lighting situation. I'm not sure if I'm 100% in love with it, but you know what? It's a vlog. We know that my vlogs are questionable. Now, I've been taking a break at the time that I'm filming this of doing reading vlogs because I felt that I was just like, I don't think reading vlogs and myself really go together because I feel this need to finish the thing in the vlog so that I can give you some commentary while I'm reading it. Like, I don't like the idea of asking a viewer to tune into a reading vlog and only get, like, and I only read like half of the book or 100 pages. So because of that pressure, I've decided to like take a step back at the time of filming this. Going forward, because my plan is to release this vlog to the general public closer to release day. And if you've seen the title, then you know what I'm reading, but I'm going to be reading Book 3, Jade Legacy of the Greenbone Saga. Y'all, when I saw this arc, I had it. My mind is a little bit blown right now because I'm going to be very honest, I did not expect to get a copy of this arc. I definitely thought that I was going to have to like scramble, or not scramble, I guess you could always just like pre-order, but you know me and pre-orders, I'd rather just like show up at the bookstore and pick it up. I thought this was going to have to do, and I have it in May, so I don't have to like scramble. I can leisurely place the pre-order, leisurely go to the bookstore because I will have already have my thoughts and opinions filmed, my reactions noted. So yeah, this is the little intro clip. I'm gonna try and stick to my 25, 50, and 75% of the way through metric for checking in. I will be taking this to work with me though. I don't anticipate that I will have a ton of time to read at work, but if I happen to go past 25% or I happen to get past 50, like one of those markers, then I'm just gonna check in there. If nothing is happening and I don't really have a lot of thoughts, then I just I'll check in when I have thoughts. But those are my rough goalposts. I don't anticipate this video being very long because I am just reading Jade Legacy, but a bitch is thrilled. A bitch is really thrilled that I have this, that I can do this. So I haven't read like 25%. I think I've read 20-ish%, but I wanted to check in now in case I read more at work, in which case I blow past the 25%, because not a lot has happened at this point, because again, we're like a fifth of the way into a 600-page book. So I've read like 100 odd pages. So let's set the scene. So far we have, at the part that I stopped, we are 7 years in the future, but the book starts 6 years in the future. So love that for the Greenbone Saga, which means like so far we are what, 10 years or so from the events in the first book, roughly. So that's a fun extended period of time. Love that for us. So, the book starts again with Barrow's perspective. He is doing, he's actually involved in like a low-key terrorist organization, which is aiming to bring down both clans. Like, what the first chapter ends with him like or not him, but like someone in his little organization spray painting something. It's like, no more clans, whatever, clanless Janloon, stuff to that effect, which I think is actually pretty fascinating if you ask me. So far his arc is the most interesting. Again, it's Barrow, so like we don't get his perspective very often, but what we have seen so far, he is again involved in that terrorist organization. But he was recently, I think it was Aspinian, like the Aspinia, the Republic of Aspinia, their intelligence organization has brought him in to like be a spy, because apparently, I can't ever pronounce the other country, the Eterians, the Y country, my bad. They also have some, because we know the Aspinians are using they have Jade soldiers. They have their little synthetic drug that they take. Apparently there's been some improvements. There's like Shine 2.0 or whatever. So love that for Espinia. But apparently the Eterians are like eating Jade. And so they have had, like, they've been kidnapping or they've been using Abweki sex trafficked women to like engineer these people and feed them like powdered Jade. It's crazy. And when I read, I said, this is crazy. So now everybody got Jade, right? So we have Espinia got Jade, the Eterians got Jade, Kekon, you know, they're still trying to defend the Jade. It's everywhere, right? It's a little convoluted, a little all over the place, but I'm having a grand old time. Then we have Hilo, who is, you know, doing some Hilo-ness. The first actual chapter that's not Barrow, we do get Hilo. There is an excellent, I think, fight scene in that chapter. It was probably one of the best ways we could have kickstarted the book, in my opinion. Shay is like, I'm gonna be very honest here. There was a scene in this book where I felt Shay should have died. There was a scene in this book where sis needed to die. And there was, basically what's happened in this 6-year time frame is the Mountain is still the clan to beat. You know, the Mountain is making all of these power moves. They are doing the thing. And so they have the Kekon Jade Alliance. They have a meeting, and the general is like, yo, when y'all be graduating these Jade warriors, y'all be taking the best people. So y'all give me the trash. And then not only are the people that they get trash, they are already, like, they have already been locked into a clan. Like, they don't graduate the Kekons, like, the little training schools, and go to the army. They first work for, like, the No Peak or the Mountain, and then maybe they retire because they're just, you know, a little finger or whatever, like a mid-level fist. Like, they're never going to advance. And so now, you might be working side by side that was supposed to be in the No Peak clan and your Mountain clan, or vice versa, or one of the smaller tributary clans, and y'all got beef because y'all was in the clan life, and he can't, like, it's just too hard for these military people, right? And so he's like, we need them to, like, offer some assistance here. And Mata is like, we are prosperous. We got plenty of Jade. We got plenty of money. We got plenty of soldiers. You can totally take some of our graduates. And Hilo, because No Peak is struggling, okay? No Peak stay on the struggle bus. He's like, no, you cannot have, like, we can give you some more Jade. How much Jade do, like, the priest people need? Like, fine, we can do that, but you can't take our soldiers, because No Peak, we need the soldiers. We are not swimming in greed. Like, they are trying to keep their heads above water, right? So he just flat out denies it. He says no. But after that meeting, one of the smaller tributary clans, Six Hands of Unity, I guess they're like on the other side of the island, a little smaller port city. They're like, hey, they are tributary to the Mountain clan, but they get in the elevator and he goes up to Shay, and Shay is like, we need to work something out. We need to have a little meeting. You should come to our port city. And it's in this port city where Shay thinks she's gonna go and she's gonna, you know, steal the bag from the Mountain clan and have this, you know, tributary clan come to No Peak, and that would help their financial situation. They would have a little bit more, you know, some more Jade warriors, even though, like, their fighters aren't the best. Like, they would have them. They would get that money from all the tributaries. And that's when Shay should have died, because she got double-crossed in the double-cross. And I said, you need to kill her. Like, I understood, like, the clan politics of it all. Like, it would ignite something that they weren't ready to ignite. And so she got to get out of there. But when I tell you she needed to die, she was like 3 inches away from death. Like 3 more inches to the right, and she would have bled out. And I said, just let her bleed out. It was, again, only like 18% or so into the story, so I could understand not wanting to do that. But you set it up for sis to die. She needed to die, you know? Like, no ifs, ands, buts about it. it is what it is at that point. So that's Jade's storyline. And then he's still in medical school. I still think this man needs to die. I understand that the little law or whatever protects doctors, but Aunt Mata was very clear. She was very clear when she said, let this man touch some Jade again. Let this man touch Jade again. And so he like, I wear it at the hospital, and he immediately takes that shit off. Partially because I don't think he wants to go full Phoenix Force or whatever, get the itches like a crackhead. But I think part of that's also like, if he knows if he was walking around wearing Jade, Aunt Mata would decapitate him with a quickness. And so if he just stayed at the hospital, he might be able to get around her for a little bit. But that man needs to die. He needs to go. I need him getting his head chopped off. You know, like that's what I personally need. So that's his storyline so far. And that's pretty much we do get Wen. Wen is still struggling with, you know, being dead and brought back to life. I appreciate that storyline. What I don't actually appreciate is, so in Jade City and in Jade War, I understand that Wen was going around Hilo's back and like doing some shit that he specifically told her not to do, partially because she was a stone eye and so whatever, but partially because like she wanted to be beneficial to the clan. I understand she fucked up. I understand that she could like betray his trust or whatever. But there was something I thought that was really beautiful about Hilo and Wen's relationship. And so when at the beginning of this book, he was going out of his way to like fuck some people at a leisure house, I'm like, you Hilo, like if any other character had been at the leisure house, like I would have been fine. But him, that made me a little, and then he was rough with her. I felt bad. Like he left a good tip. Like he said he was generous with his payment. But then I was like, y'all supposed to be broke. So there's a little bit all over the place with him and Wen. I hope that either Wen, she seems to be getting better, but I need Wen to die. I need Hilo to die. I need one of them to die, or for them to like make up and be back and be fine, because that I did not like. Almost forgot to put on my mask before I go into this Target. So that's the thing. The Nico, they're older now. I'm waiting to see. The part I left on was Hilo was talking about the day, like talking about why Nico was with him and Wen and not with his mom. And what they were in, I forget what country they ran off to, but why they, you know, she had to die. And I think he's about to tell him that he had to murder her. Which I'm going to give props to Hilo. Like, because this boy is 7, so that's pretty young, you know? Like, that's about as young as you could be to, like, because he's been raised in the clan life, you know? Like, he understands that his father's had to kill people, the other people, and they're, like, that he knows have had to kill people. So I'm kind of respecting Hilo for this decision, because, you know, when he was a baby, like, if you told him I killed your mom, whatever, that wouldn't matter. But I think that 7, Nico's going to understand that Hilo murdered his mother. And so I'm hoping that this is going to be him actually coming out with that and not lying to the boy. Although if he does lie to the boy, even that'll be really interesting, because I think that, again, at 7, he's going to have an understanding of all that entails. What is up? So I am technically we're 49% of the way into the story, but I just started a new chapter. I know like it's not a hard and fast rule updating at 50, but stuff has happened and I definitely want to work through this. So we're gonna start at where I left off and kind of like continue to work my way through the tangled mess of thoughts that I have about this book. But overall, I am enjoying it. Right now, like it's definitely sitting at like a 4.5, 4 star. The first half star I have to take off is for the time. How time is handled in Jade Legacy, I do not like. So I have said many a time, like this is like, if there's one thing I'm consistent on in most of my reviews, is I don't fuck with books that we just skip chunks of time. And while I appreciate that all of the time skips happen at the start of a new chapter, so many have happened. We started off 6 years in the future. Then the 7th year, that was pretty well integrated. Like, we went from like year 6 and 11 months to like year 7 and like 2 months or something. So that was fine-ish. But then we got like 11 years in the future, and then we were like 13 years in the future, and then we were 14 years in the future, and now we're 19 years in the future. And we're only halfway through the story. And some of them I think were better executed than others, and some I don't know if I needed. So that's like my first big takeaway, is that I don't like how that was handled at all, really. I wish that it had been handled. I don't know if like better is the right word, but I almost wish that like we could have just started with like a clear time skip. But I understand why we didn't. Like, so much has happened in these like pockets that have well, you would think they would affect the outcome of the story, but like I don't even know where we're going. Like, I don't know like what the clear vision was for the Greenbone saga, but I do appreciate it. Like, I appreciate like Jade City. We were just on Kekon in the city of Janloon, and then with Jade War, we kind of went out to Espenia, and we got to see the Kekanese diaspora there. And Jade Legacy definitely brings that all full circle, where we are, you know, in Janloon, but we also get to see other parts of the island of Kekon, and we got to see like how the clans operate in like the outside of Janloon, and then we get to go back to Espenia, and we are getting to see how the Kekanese diaspora is like playing out there, and like what is happening with them, and how that's all like interconnected. Like, I think that Fonda Lee just like galaxy brained, but like in terms of like a plot, like, you know, like an actual concrete plot moment, like I don't know what she was building toward. And I don't know what the payoff is going to be. And I think that's what makes me the most nervous, is like, because I don't know what the plot aim is, for me, I don't know if like let down is the right word, but I do think there could be an overall sense of letdown, maybe, like in the broadest, most generalized way. But I also think that people who did not really like Jade War are not gonna really vibe with Jade Legacy. But with that said, I need to talk about this moment that really I was shook and shake. I had to stop reading last night. So around 38% of the story, like, stuff has been building, like I said. You know, the No Peak clan and the Mountain clan are still battling it out. It's been more of like a Cold War tension, because the Mountain is like really, they got their shit together, and while No Peak is like inching along, I think they are still struggling. They are like on their last leg to me. But they've been trying to build themselves back up, so you got to give them credit where credit is due, I suppose. But there was a scene. What was happening? So they were inching along, and, you know, Beru has been in his little like clanless society underground meetings, trying to, you know, bring down the clans or whatever. We get peeks into that. The No Peak has been facing like these little skirmishes, but then the clanless society, right? Like little underground society of like terrorists. I don't know if I would really call them terrorists, but like they took some pages. So the Clan Society underground meeting planted a bomb outside of the Kekon Jade Alliance during a meeting, and so Hilo was sent a note warning him that his ass was about to die. And I'm curious to see who actually sent that note. I hope we get, like, if we get answers to anything in the story, I do hope it is that. So Hilo gets this note like, yo, you're about to die. And as he's trying to make his exit, chaos erupts inside the meeting room. So we had Aitmata get her throat slit, and everyone was like, that I was personally offended, really. I was like, of all the ways to send Aitmata out, you're gonna slit her throat like by some, it wasn't even Hilo or any of the other calls, or even on like one of the smaller pillars that, you know, make up, because it's not just like the No Peak and the Mountain, like there's like those small clans or whatever. Wasn't one of them. It was like this random it actually wasn't random. It was like the daughter of somebody Aitmata had killed, and so she was like gonna get revenge for her family, and so she slit Aitmata's throat, And Hilo was like, this is how she's gonna go, like she's gonna bleed out in this room, like bet. But then Aitmata like leaps out the window and he's like, no, I got to make sure she's dead. So then he jumps out the window and then the building explodes. And all we get is he's watching the building come down on him. And like, in retrospect, the way that Fonda Lee handled that was beautiful. It was beautiful. But in the moment, I was like, Aitmata is off the board. Hilo is off the board. It was giving very Lan. You know, like when you're reading Jade City and you get to like page 200 and Lan is gone, just dead, sunk in the ocean. That was disrespectful. But it was serving very that, you know, like I went into Jade Legacy expecting Hilo to go. I definitely, or Hilo or Aitmata. To me, if we end the Greenbone saga and Hilo and Aitmata are still on the board, I'm gonna need a good explanation as to why they are still on the board. Because one of them has to be taken off. And so, but when I was reading that, I was like, I didn't want them getting taken off like this. This is what I wanted. But then Fonda gave us this moment. So then we cut to Shay's perspective for the next chapter. And she's at home with her newborn baby because now she's a mother. Actually, I don't really know if I love this for Shay because I don't think Shay loves this for Shay. But she's at home with her, you know, her baby and her mother. And they are watching the news because, you know, it's urban fantasy. We got the news. We get to see it on TV. And she's like, shit. So she goes down there even though she is apparently going to be the next pillar. And I said, I really don't want this for Shay. Shay, I love her. Like, that's my homegirl. But Shay is the pillar. We don't need Shay as the pillar. Like, that's what we don't need. But she's like, I need to get down there. Even though I'm low-key weak, I kind of have a heart condition at the moment. I have to see this for myself. And in that course of events, we see Shay stumble upon Aitmata at one of the little temples. And Aitmata has not been taken off the board. Aitmata is willing herself to keep living. And I'm like, this feels a little convoluted, Miss Fonda, but I'm going to take it. Because again, to me, Hilo and Aitmata could not go out like that. Like, I don't like Hilo. Hilo to me is garbage. Although I will say, I don't know if I updated y'all, but he did tell Nico that he had to kill his mother. And he even gave him really much the whole truth. He did kind of spin it in a way where it's like, you know, I had to, like, it was the clan, you know, like, that's just the way of the clan. But to me, that's unacceptable. He was very honest, like, yo, your mother and my brother, like, she should have died before, but my brother was soft, and, you know, I went and I was trying to, although, again, it was totally Nico's mother's prerogative to, like, not give Hilo visitation. Still. But he was very forth and very honest, and so we know I don't like this man, but again, I did not want him or Aitmata going out like this. Not like, I needed something better. So we find Aitmata in the temple, and Shay is like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, I'm just gonna slit your throat right here. And I was kind of like, Shay, that's a bitch move. Like, Sis is already half dead. You can't just slit her throat. And she's like, you know what? In this moment of instability, it would be even worse if we let you go out like this. Like, if we let the Mountain and Pillar go out like this, when Kekon has been shaken because, you know, the clans are such integral parts, that would actually be worse. So that would be mercy. So I'm not going to kill you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So then we get scenes with Andon coming in. He's still a doctor, which I understand they have like this little code, but I really thought if this man touched Jade again, he was gonna, and he has not. He's not been murdered yet. And I'm waiting for Andon to be murdered. I mean, they're just honorable people, apparently. Even Aitmata said it. Aitmata was like, you know, there was a time when I wanted to kill you. There was a time where if I saw you touch Jade, I was gonna whisper your name. But as I lie here and you're taking care of me, I'm really happy. I did not whisper your name. But to me, I was still like, sis, you need this. Like, I know you're sick, but just kill him. That does not happen. And then we get a scene at the end of all of that. Like, at the end of all of this, you know, Aitmata's alive. We're taking care of Aitmata. Hilo's not off the board. Hilo is back. And I wanted my Goodreads update to be like, we got 2 new contenders for the cockroach because ain't neither one. Barrow, like, people want Barrow to die so badly, but Barrow ain't never escaped death like this. Like, he's wormed his way out of a couple of situations, even in this one, because he was very clearly, he failed in his mission. He failed in his mission as the, like, mole for the Espinian government inside the clanless movement. Like, he was not good at that job. And even the people who are in the clanless movement, they should have killed his ass too. So, like, Barrow is still worming his way out of, like, these sticky situations, but he ain't never done what Aitmata was doing. Aitmata said, no, bitch, you ain't taking me out. Hilo said, no, bitch, you ain't taking me out. And so, for me, they're the two, like, and I don't mean this in, like, the derogatory word, so that's why I didn't put it in my Goodreads update, but we got two new contenders. They might have not have escaped as often as Barrow, but they have done it in ways that I think are more entertaining, interesting. And so then later on, we have another scene with one of the people from the clanless underground movement who should have killed himself but did not. And he was one of the Eterians, the Y country. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but in my head, that's what I'd be reading, Eterian. I'm sure is there a pronunciation guide? I did tap past all of the stuff at the beginning of Jade Legacy, but I might go back and see if they were giving a pronunciation. I think it was just like a list of people. But he, like I said, is a Eterian, and he was captured by the Espinians, and we know that he is suffering from, like, Jade withdrawal and Shine withdrawal, but we also know that the Eterian government has the Espinians, they have, like, their angels or whatever, like the Navy Corps angel thing, like that whole thing where, they have the Shine and they use Jade, and they send them out into the world as, soldiers. But the Eterians also have an underground top secret level Jade super soldier program. And so that's also coming into play here. So now it's not even like Kekon and Espinia politics, but Espinia and Eterian politics is, like, kind of in the background. And I'm almost a little bit sad that this is a trilogy. Like, I mean, it's a saga, but it's only going to be these 3 books. Because I think that I would love to just be in this world. Because this is just... And I know there's going to be, like, some little short story collections. And there's going to be, like, another... I think it's a novella coming out next year. So, like, we're not completely done. I say short story collections. I just meant, like, short stories that are going to be, like, released in preparation for Jade Legacy, which again is weird because we already skipped through time, but whatever. Stuff is happening, and I am just wholly not prepared for what is happening, and I thought that I would be. And to know that there's still another 300 pages, I'm gonna need thoughts and prayers. But I actually have to stop talking because I have to go to work. So I have made it to 75% into the book. I'm about to start chapter 46, so we are coming in today to give my second to last update. I'm hoping to finish this today on Sunday so I can get this video out. I talked about doing a spoiler-free review, so hopefully that'll be out at some point. But let's discuss. So since the last part where I thought Hilo was going to die and I thought Aitmata was going to die, this book has taken quite the turn. So this book is weird to me because it doesn't feel like a conclusion to anything. It kind of feels in some ways a continuation of Jade War, but in some ways it also feels like a collection of, I wouldn't call them novellas or short stories, but the way that time passes, it feels more episodic than it does like just a cohesive one story. And it makes me, I don't know. I feel like as an author, it has to be a little bit draining to have to conceive of an arc and like write an arc. But what this, like the Greenbone saga as like a, an overarching thing, just feels like very slice of life at the end of it. Like it definitely, like, I understand the like saga is supposed to imply like this massive time, and there's been like with Jade Legacy specifically, we are 21 years into it. We're about to be at 22 years, like just in the one in one book, it's a little questionable. But like, so we have that epic scope, but there's something about it that just isn't clicking. And then when I think about how Jade City, I think Peacock optioned it so that like they're developing the series. This is like, I don't understand like how we're going to adapt Jade Legacy at all. So since I thought those people were going to die, not much has happened. We've since learned that there's kind of like this religious war going on between Ispenia and the Itanians into the other country. Like, they have like a religious sub-war that's going on that Nico was kind of getting pulled into. So Nico, Jaya, and Rue are all older now, clearly, because we are 22 years into the future. So Nico gave up, I think he was a finger for like a hot second. He gave up being a finger to go work for a private entity, and Hilo was big mad about that. Hilo was big pressed that his son would go and be a mercenary. But to Nico, it was like, there's no difference between being a mercenary and being a green bow in the clans. Like, that was interesting. A lot of like this, to me, if I was going to talk about the arc, it is interesting to see the evolution of these like thoughts and opinions, like both on the code that they live by on Kekon, the iShow, like that, and just seeing how it's different, and seeing the Kekanese diaspora and like the new generation of like this older, because we started off in like a 1970s vibe, and so now we're more approaching like a Y2K vibe. So like, that's cool, it's interesting, but I don't, like, I also just like, it's very slice of life. I also think that as I continue to read, and I've been doing some reading sprints with the homies, and they were like, when Jade War ended, we were kind of led to believe that like No Peak and the Mountain Clan were just going to smash it out, like things were bad. And I think that those tensions have remained between the No Peak and the Mountain. And for me, it makes sense that things weren't just immediately resolved with like a swift, clean blade duel or something. And it's not as though the Mountain is like doing any worse. Like, the Mountain has continued to thrive, and we have continued to see No Peak struggle and kind of like limp through things. But they have not been decimated in 23 years. And so I can kind of understand like what I went in thinking. I thought I was going to get like a violent, Hilo death on page 7, and a Shay death on page 23, and like a Wen death, because at the end of Jade War, like, Sis was she was taken out, like Andon had to bring her back from the dead. I thought Andon was gonna like come back and kill him. I thought that Nico was gonna like want revenge because his mother had been murdered, and like, we got to see Nico understand what Hilo did at a young age. And then when he was older, we also got to see him, I wouldn't say throw it in his face, but he was like, look, this is what you did. Like, and I think that all of that it's all just really well done. It's all very excellent. But when you're reading it, you're kind of like, this is a final book. It's very much like that is going through your mind. And so for me, nothing that I'm reading in Jade Legacy feels like a final book. But at the same time, it's like this odd thing where I personally don't mind that. Like, I am okay with this not reading like a final book and it feeling kind of like we could continue on here. But I don't know how other people are going to react to that. Like, I don't know what the audience is going to respond with, because it's not, to me, like, that's a very specific kind of energy to bring to a conclusion. And I can understand why Fonda Lee has been on Twitter saying, like, I know arcs are out, but like, please don't spoil things. Partially because, yeah, it's a final book, but also like, I almost wish I could say more, because I think that like expectations that people have are just, and like, I don't want to say they're misplaced, but what Jade Legacy delivers is at this point at 75% not going to deliver what they want. So we have like that religious sub war that's like a subplot here. The Mountain and No Peak are both still in existence. All of the smaller tributary clans have been pretty much wiped from the board following the events that happened at the Kekon Jade Alliance meeting, what is it, like a decade ago at this point. So most of the smaller clans were wiped out because their pillar and their weathermen were kind of like their best green bones, and so they couldn't really reform, so they just kind of had to just be absorbed by the Mountain or by No Peak. So like in that way, No Peak has like gotten a little bit more money, but the Mountain is very clearly still the clan to beat. Then we have the situation where Beru was, like I said, he was an informant, and he's just kind of been, who knows what Beru is up to now, but we know he's back on Kekon after spending some time off in the Awewin, I don't know, islands. He's been off there, but now he's back on Kekon. Shay and Wen were kidnapped in Shotar, which I thought that was gonna be the wrap. Like, that scene was very interesting scene to read. So they were in Shotar trying to expand their reach. For No Peak never having any money, they are always trying to like set up little satellite offices anywhere and everywhere they can imagine one being. So they were in Shotar trying to again expand their reach, trying to get one of the actors that's in like Shotarian films like get let out of their contract so they can continue to use him. And so they leave the meeting and they're driving. I think they're going home or maybe out to like a restaurant. They get pulled over, but it's a setup and they are kidnapped by Shotarian gangsters. And I definitely thought that's when Wen was going to die for sure. So Wen has escaped death yet again. And then they were trying to torture Shay for information. And at this point, we got to see some really excellent scenes. There was a flashback, so we got a scene with Lon. It was really nice to see him again. And then we got to see how Hilo established himself to become the Horn at such a young age. And also how the No Peak at one point in the Mountain they were almost going to become the One Mountain Society again. Like, Shay's grandfather wanted her to marry the son of the Horn of the Mountain, and he had kind of worked it out and arranged it. And so that was also really interesting to see. And then it was also interesting in that because Hilo took out that, like, the son of the Horn, who was again one of the Mountain's most, he was like Aunt Gosh before Aunt Gosh existed, or Aunt Gosh, whatever his name was. So when Hilo killed him, not only did that break the marriage proposal, but it eased the way for Aitmata to become Aitmata. And so when the Pillar of the Mountain passed away, it was that there was one less person for her, one less super skilled green bone for her not to have to take out. Like, that man was already gone off the board. And so to me, I thought that was also interesting in how the Mountain clan and the No Peak clan have always sort of had, like, I mean, we know that they, again, like, there was the One Mountain Society and they fractured or whatever, but like just seeing that play out so much closer to the present day was interesting. And also it was the Hilo scene, so like it was epic. This scene, like, this book has more pockets of action scenes than Jade War did, but again, like, the same way that Jade War was very much focusing on the Kekanese diaspora and the Kekanese experience in Espenia and how they were going to move into Espenia, this book is a lot like that, but it's just more broad, which is interesting. But because it's so broad, it also allows for pockets of dramatic fashion. Like, we got to see, was it Wen's brother, the one that wasn't already dead. Hilo was a little bitch baby and should have killed that man, but he didn't. And so we got to see an action sequence with him, because I definitely thought that man was out here breaking what he was supposed to be doing for his own personal gain. And I was like, you should have killed this man. But then we got a really great action scene, and then we got another scene with Andon. Although I also want to say, I took issue with this in Jade War, and I continue to take issue with it here. And I think that Andon's partner here, what is his name, Jahura, is a far more interesting character and is like kind of voicing my thoughts and opinions here. But you can give me all the kinds of, rooting it in cultural relevancy. The casual way that homophobia plays out in the Kekanese culture is just really, I feel like that was a very interesting choice to include. I also don't know if I vibe with Nico's storyline, which seems to be tied into this religious war that's going on, because like I said, he left being a finger to go work as a private mercenary for this company who was like previously working with Hilo. Like the founder of that company was in the Aspinian military, and now he's like has his own little mercenary group of people who can use Jade and kill people. And we only got to see them on one mission so far, after Nico went and joined them. And they wound up killing innocent civilians. But I also don't care about Nico's storyline in this like private organization the same way that I don't care about Rue's storyline at college. And I also think that it is wild to me that I've had chapters from Nico, like in his little military thing, and a couple before then he was still a finger in the clan, and Rue, and I've only had like one scene with Jaya. Like there was a chapter where Jaya was defending her friend who was like getting sexually assaulted. So, and I think she like just beat up the man. So it wasn't even like, she stabbed him in the groin. That's what she did. She like stabbed him in the groin, and like she didn't feel bad about it because she shouldn't. But I feel like both of her brothers get, well, is Nico really her cousin? So like those characters are getting spotlight, and I feel like Jaya could be getting spotlight, and it's giving me a lot of how Shay was Shay was done dirty in Jade City, and I felt like she was, Jade War made up for that because she was so tied in to what Andon's storyline was in Espinia, because like that was her whole creation. And then even Shay and Wen in Jade War, like that was like really like those three characters' books. And here they're just kind of again getting paid dust, and you can kind of see the same situation happening with Rue, Nico, and Jaya, and like the same sort of dynamics are played out, except Jaya really wants to be like, she is all for being a green bone. She wants to be the horn. Like I think Jaya for Pillar, honestly, but it's very that vibe. It's very that. And then like if the mountain has Aitmata, you might as well have Jaya. It feels like a very ugly shot. This does not feel like a shot that I appreciate, but you know what? Here we are. I finally finished. This is just not going to be the best framed thing. So I finally finished Jade Legacy yesterday, and I wound up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if it's because, it was really a 4.5. It was a 4.5 like the entire time that I was reading it, but I personally don't use half stars. But then I got to the end, and I think that the ending of this book, it just tied everything together so well. And I think that it made me see why the time jumps weren't actually a big deal. So for me personally, I hate when books skip through time. Mostly because I don't think that when most books do it, they're as masterfully done as Fonda does it. And like in the moment, why we're skipping through all of these things, and the book kind of feels vignette-y. There's not like a clear reason as to why the book is structured this way. But then when I got to the end and we got to see it all play out, and we got to see all of the pieces start to come together, that's when I knew that this was a 5-star read. So I don't want to get into like what exactly happens at the end, because even though this is like a spoilery vlog style situation, I do like the idea of the ultimate ending, like being, because I don't want to ruin that. I definitely don't want to ruin that, because I am putting this up so early for the patrons. But it was just so good. So we left off, Hilo should have died or whatever, Aitmata should have died, we had new cockroaches. The last 25% of the book was actually a little bit slower than I thought it was going to be. There was a lot of unexpected character death. There was a character death that I did not see coming, even though, like, at the beginning of the book, I thought one of those people was going to die, but I was like, at this point, there's no way that this character is going to die. So we had a surprising character death that I thought was actually pretty well earned. I also really appreciated Barrow and his story. Like, his arc was so... I think I tweeted about this, but so Barrow's arc ultimately comes full circle, because he's like a little bit younger. He's like in his 40s or so, like early 40s at the beginning of this, at this point in the story, like maybe like late 30s. And so he was, like I said, he was the spy for the Aspinian government, and he's done all those things in those previous books. But when he got to the end of his arc in this one, He was a drunkard who was living on, like, you know, using like the social welfare programs to like keep a roof over his head. And he was also involved with the unexpected character death. But Nico goes to this apartment place trying to figure out everything. And Barrow's like, I killed your daddy. I murdered Lan. I murdered that man. And you're thinking Nico is going to execute Barrow. Like, this is going to be the moment. But the way that Nico just didn't care, like, Nico looked at this man and said, you are drunk. It was like, there was something about that scene that I personally found really, really just chef's kiss. Like, it made, the way that Fonda Lee wrote it, it made sense. It didn't feel like a cheap gimmick. And sure, Barrow does not get the ending that a lot of readers think that he needs to get. But for me, in the moment, even though I was like freaking out about it, I was like, you know what, Fonda? I will give you that one. I will allow this to stand. But moreover, the way that the mountain and the no peak, the final situation that happens there, everything about it is everything I could have wanted. I think that when I went into Jade Legacy, I definitely thought that I was going to get, you know, Aitmata is going to kill these people. Aitmata is going to destroy the No Peak clan in like 3.5 seconds. And what Jade Legacy was really an examination of the long game, of Aitmata's long game. So all of those little vignette moments played into, one, Aitmata setting everything up for her ultimate move, like her all cards are on the table moment. But it also set the perfect stage for all of the pieces that the No Peak needed in order for them to counter. And even while you're going along and you're reading it, you don't, like, you can see the mountain continuing to win. You can see all of the way that Fonda Lee just did it. She like was so masterful in how she crafted the mountains rising and the No Peak kind of like clawing their way, like clinging to survival. But at the same time, when we finally get to the showdown, you can see how like both clans actually have all the pieces they need for this ultimate situation. And then not only do they have all the pieces, when everything looks lost and everything is like, well, maybe this isn't gonna work out, the it's not really a double, it's kind of a double cross. This is like the second double cross of the double crossed. It was so good. It was perfection. And so for me, the way that happened, the way that all of that played out, there's no way I could give this less than a full 5 stars. Like, Fonda Lee has changed the game. Now, with all of that said, I definitely still think that the issues that I talked about earlier in this reading vlog still exist. I still think that this is not your standard, your typical, the expected way we are going to go in to a final book. This definitely does not feel like the final book in a series, the final book in a saga. And while you're reading it, I can understand, I can empathize with not enjoying it in the way that you thought you were going to, and the kind of the frustration of like, for me, the way that Fonda Lee subverted my expectations was perfection. Like, I appreciated ultimately the way that I did eventually get things that I did expect. And kind of the way that I expected them to happen, but they weren't when I expected them to. And so I think that the way that Fonda Lee was able to do that was great, but I can see also still how that's not going to work for every reader, and how that could be a problem for a lot of people coming into this trying to get that ultimate conclusion. So I do want that to be known. I do empathize with those readers, and I do wish that the book was just flawless, but you know, expectations, like you're never gonna get a flawless book. So for me, I think that this was by far and away the perfect conclusion. The best book in the saga. For me, they were incrementally better. I gave Jade City a 3-star. Jade War was a 4-star. And I think that ultimately, I do think that Jade Legacy is the best book in the bunch. It gives you all of the action that people want. It gives you all of the sort of political maneuvering that people want. I'm excited to see what these little novellas, you know, leading up to release are. I'm excited to read the standalone novella next year. I am still sad that we're leaving this, like, I know I just said we're getting all of those, like, at least short stories, and one of the release next year is definitely a novella. So I'll get like 150 pages or something. I think the ones leading up to release are just like short stories, so I'm not expecting a whole lot there. But I am a little sad that I am leaving the world here. I personally would still, we did get a chapter from Aitmata's perspective, and it was everything I wanted. I still personally would read the Greenbone Saga again from the perspective of the Mountain Clan, of Aitmata and the Coben family, because I think that they still had a lot of really interesting. There was a lot of interesting dynamics going on over there, and I would love to see it, especially now that we know what Aitmata was planning, like what her moves were, like what she was building toward. Like, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. At least a novella. Doesn't have to be another trilogy, but at least a novella. And I would definitely return to this world. I think that would be beyond amazing. It was really great, I think, personally, to see kind of how Aspenia was changing and evolving in their relation to Jade, and that was great in the Kekanese diaspora, how they were no longer, how they had also changed from what we saw in Jade War in only 20 years, which it's a long time. I feel very old. But so I don't know. This book was it was so good. It was so good. And I need you to know that. I just need the people to know. So I'm going to wrap this up here. Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of the vlog, leave this little emoji down in the comment section. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again soon with another one. But until then, and until next time, bye.